Well, I guess it's about time I actually get out of my apartment and go see this movie. I'm gonna go see Get Out by Getting Out. Alright, that's my really terrible attempt at making a joke with Get Out and playing on words. But it's about time that I actually got out and saw this movie because it's been around for a couple weeks now. And this is the directorial debut by Jordan Peele, better known from Key and Peele, where he's done some work on Mad TV, and also Key and Peele the show. So I was really intrigued on this psychological kind of horror film that he was going to make for his first film. This movie is starring Daniel Kaluuya, who is dating this girl, Allison Williams is her real name. So what they do is they're, an interracial couple, and he has never met her parents, and so they're going to go drive over to their place for a weekend and just really have a fun time there and try to just meet everyone in the family. And that's where things start turning really weird. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the summary of this movie. I'm going to summarize it just a little bit, not giving too much away. Talk about some of my pros that I liked about the movie, and then some of the cons. Then I'll go tell you if you should go see this movie or not. Alright, so they're on their way to the parents' house, and they get hit by a deer, which is one of the jump scares. This is in the trailer. I'm not spoiling anything. And then a cop wants to see his ID. It's kind of just racial tensions are there, you can tell. And then they get to the house, and then they have two servants who just want to stay there, and we don't know why. They're really weird. There's the housemaid, and there's also a groundskeeper, and they're just the most bizarre people in the world. And you can tell in Daniel's acting between these people, you can tell in the acting that they're acting very strange. And so that's something that's pretty odd about this movie, but also at the same time worth checking out. So yes, they get there, all these weird things are just happening in this house and around the house, and then they have some kind of family get-together where things get even more weird. And what I really wanted to say, without really giving too much into depth, is the mother and father have a really weird dynamic trying to talk to this guy who her daughter is really dating. And so it evolves from there, and I really don't want to talk too much about it because then it'll give it away, but definitely worth looking into for sure, and I'll give my final thoughts at the end. Alright, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about some pros about the movie that I really enjoyed, and then I'm talking about some cons. My first pro is this is the first really film from Jordan Peele, and I really enjoyed this as a directorial debut. This is an excellent film that I didn't expect to really get into the horror aspect of him, because all I know him really from the past is comedy, and that's really what I know Jordan Peele from. And so this is really odd that he's going this route, but it's really cool because it's something I've never really seen before. Another thing is that Daniel Kaluuya's performance was amazing, and I could really get into the emotional side of what's going on in his head and outside his experience. It was very strange, and it's something that you really have to take for granted if you're not in his situation. It just really highlights kind of the situation that some African Americans or black people really go through, and something that I really can't relate to, but I really enjoyed that aspect of the film, and I really enjoyed his acting, because he did a really fantastic job being emotional, a badass, kind of just being a normal dude in a really weird situation, which is really strange. But yeah, it's definitely worth checking out with him at the helm. Also, another thing I really enjoyed about this film was there's some sequences that happen in this movie that are kind of psychedelic / psychological that I really enjoyed. I thought that this aspect of the film made it really. Those are the times in the movie that I perked up and was like, wow, this is something really cool that I wanted to, just like invest in, like what's going on right now. And so I really enjoyed some of those sequences without really getting too much into depth with those. Another aspect of this film was I enjoyed the comic relief in the form of Lil Ray Howery, who is Daniel's best friend back home, who's a TSA agent, who really just makes all the one-liners and all the tags, and I really enjoyed. Really took me out of the awkwardness of this movie, and it really kind of gave it more depth and also more variety, and I really enjoyed those aspects. Alright, now that I talked a little bit about the pros, I'm going to talk a little bit about the cons, and there are not too many to say about. I wanted to say that some of the acting felt really strange. I know this is the first movie for some people. I really didn't like Allison's performance in the beginning of the film because it felt really forced and really awkward, but near the end she changes a little bit, and I appreciate that without really getting too much into depth there. And honestly, I just wanted to get over that this story, I feel like I've seen it before in some aspect, but not in this lens of an African American or a black person's aspect of how white people are, really weird. And if you're the only black guy in a white crowd, it's one of the weirdest feelings in the world, I'm sure. And so that's something I really enjoyed about this film, but also at the same time, I felt like the story has been said and done before. Another thing is, I'm sure other YouTubers have pointed this out, there's some scenes in the trailer that didn't get into the movie. There was the scene with the really weird deer head that kind of, like came to life. That didn't happen in the movie. I don't know if that was going to be an extended cut or anything, but that didn't happen. And also, finally, I really, the last act, without really getting into depth with this movie, kind of lacks something. I don't really know what to say. It just felt choppy and abrupt at the ending, and it built all this up, and it was too easy for some of the things that were going on in there. And I really don't want to get too much into depth there because that'll spoil it. So those are my pros and cons of this movie. Now I'm going to give it a rating. I'm actually going to give this movie a 4 out of 5. That is a must-see. Now this movie, I was kind of struggling between a 3 and a 4. And I just decided to choose the latter because, honestly, I'm probably going to see this film a couple more times, but I don't know if I'm going to own it. But definitely, it's definitely worth a watch and definitely worth an interesting take on an African-American or Black experience that really, that's the horror of this movie. This movie's not too scary on that front, but it's the horror of realizing how awkward real life and social reality really is, and that's something I really enjoyed about this movie. So with that being said, like, comment, and share down below, and I'll see you next time. I'm not jonesing around.